Hi, how are you guys? So today I'm going to discuss about the job description for quant development. In the previous video, I discussed about what is quant development, how is it different from quant research or quant trading or quant analysis, and what are the things that you are expected to do as a quant developer, and what the career opportunities are. So today I'm going to take you through the job description of few of the quant development jobs. Some of the recruiters have actually approached me for those roles. Of course, I'm not a quant developer myself. I'm more into research side, but I keep getting these emails from recruiters, from headhunters every now and then, and more recently I've got two of them. So I thought of sharing with you actually how they look like, okay, how the job description is like, and what exactly are the requirements, and what are the skill sets needed, and things like that. Okay, so first one is C++ developer. Okay, so it's a quant developer role, and as you would expect that in quant development, what is most important is your programming skills, right? So in the job description, the title itself is mentioned C++ developer. That means you really have to be good in C++. And I've also discussed this in many of my videos, is that in quantitative finance, I think the most popular language still is C++. Python is actually taking over it. I think in few years time, Python will probably be the most popular language in quantitative finance, but not yet. C++ still rules, the quant finance world, especially in big banks and all. They're still using C++ legacy code and everything. So it's into interest rate derivatives and swaps and pricing. And here you see the day rate. That means this is a contract role. That means it's not a permanent role. So you will work for about 6 months, 8 months. Well, initial contract could be about 6 months to 1 year, but it can be it can be changed then on a rolling basis. That means you start with 6 months, you could go on working for the company for 3 years, but it pays really well actually. You see here, 850 pound per day. That's like 85,000 rupees per day. And if you work for about 22 days, you will be making something like 18 lakhs, like 22 days working days in a month. So if you convert that, that will be like some 16 to 18 lakhs per month, which is actually is quite decent salary in London. Let me tell you, it's a position in London, and it's a mid-level position. It's a hands-on position, by the way. Most contract jobs will be hands-on. Let me tell you. In India, actually, there are not many contract jobs. I've heard this as these things have many companies have started, but I'm not sure if there are contract roles in quant development or not. But certainly in Europe, it's quite a thing. And many people really want to work as contractors. People who want flexibility, people who want to just you know um, be independent, do not want to have the manager or something. Well, as a contractor, you will always have a manager, but it will be more from a delivery point of view. I mean, you will not have a people manager or something like that. You don't have to report to anyone. Uh, so yeah, so let's discuss about the job description. It's a C++ developer role, and what it expects is that you will be the C++ quant developer. That means you'll be a software developer, IT developer, who is a specialized C++ developer. But at the same time, you also need to have knowledge of some quantitative finance. For example, you should have some knowledge of interest rate derivatives. You should have some knowledge of swaps and pricing. The problem with people coming from non-finance, non-quant finance background, and they are developer, they're good developer, wonderful developer in C++, um, but they have no idea what quant finance is. They get scared with these jargons, interest rate derivatives, swaps, and pricing, so on and so forth. So for them, I would suggest that just do. a course, read some books, watch some videos. I think that should be enough for you to convince the interviewing manager that, look, I do not have experience in quant finance, but I am a very good C++ developer, and I have learned some quant finance myself. You're not expected to be an expert in quantitative finance. You will not do research there. You will be only writing C++ code, but you should have enough knowledge in quant finance to be able to communicate with the quant researcher, right? You should be familiar with the quant jargons, okay, to be very precise. And having some mathematical skills always helps. I mean, if you are a programmer and you do not know mathematics, that in my view is a shame actually. It's We overlook this skill actually, but it's important to know also mathematics and algorithms, computational algorithms. Those coming from computer science background, I'm sure you have studied about algorithm, data structure, these things. Often not very used in software development in many companies, unless you are working with Google or Amazon in these places. But these are important skills in quant finance, let me tell you. And it's very lucrative, as you said. It's the salary is quite good actually. And by the way, you don't get paid that kind of salary even in top tech firms in London. So the remuneration is superb. So the expectation from you would also be very high, especially when it comes to your technical skills. So what the responsibilities are? It's like design, implement, maintain high performance C++ code for interest rate trading strategy and risk management. A lot of things to understand here. I have mentioned this in my video on what is quant development, which is that in quant development, you will be writing softwares, right? You are not going to do research. Nobody will expect you to develop models or build algorithms or talk to business people directly to solve their problem. Or you'll not be working in risk model development, risk management, any of that. You will only be working on implementation of the models, design of the tools and software systems to be used for trading, for risk management, right? Another important thing here mentioned is high performance C++. It's important because in many other software IT related jobs, you will find that people completely ignore the computational efficiency of the code. People don't really care. They don't really want to even care about computational ability of the code. And that's very, very important actually in quantitative finance. So it's very, very important that you have um, you have you are able to write code that is very good from a performance point of view. And then you should have some knowledge on the area that you are working in. Here in this case, it's interest rate strategy, trading strategy. So you should have knowledge of that. You should have knowledge of derivative pricing. You should have knowledge of derivatives, for example, different types of derivatives, forward, future options, everything. You should know about risk management tools. You should know something about regulations around different um, financial assets and different models in different jurisdiction. In this case, it is UK, so you'll have to be familiar with the European and the UK regulations. Um, yeah. Here in this case, it is also mentioned develop quantitative models for interest rate products, conduct statistical analysis to evaluate performance and risk. But let me tell you, it is this particular role is perhaps a mix of both. Okay, and there are some roles where you do not have the luxury of having quant developers and quant researcher. There is no separations, and one has to do both. And this is a typical role where one has to develop products, also build software. Um, but in most places, that is not the case. People actually working on the implementation, they are separate. They are the one who are more specialized in coding and IT, whereas the quant researcher are less of programmers and more of mathematicians or quant finance experts. But in many places, in some places, you really have to do both. But again, the emphasis here is more on development and less on quantity modeling. For example, if you see the third sentence, it is very evident, right? You collaborate with a team of developers, traders, and business users to understand business requirement and design solutions that meet business standards. So surely there are other people also working on models and risk management. You are more of an IT person, but sure there are times when you also have to do some of the things related to models or risk management. And what experience is needed? You need to have strong C++ experience, knowledge of interest rate derivatives and swaps and future and forward and options and how to price them. You need to have a master's degree or a PhD in quantitative field in mathematics, computer science, physics, or engineering. I've said this many times in many of my videos that people always will expect, most of the times will expect you to have a quantitative degree, science or engineering degree, um, or a degree in quantitative finance and economics. That's also fine. But interestingly, see, in there's not mention of finance or quantitative finance here. If you come from scientific background, you're fine. You do not need to have knowledge of finance. The problem, however, is that a lot of people coming from scientific background, from science and engineering, they have no clue as to how they can um, they can break into quantitative finance. They have no knowledge of it. So it's good to then read some books or do some courses. It's not that difficult. If you have a technical background, it's super easy. Another important thing, which is very important to, especially for my Indian audience, is that you see that people coming from maths and physics background or the pure science background, even they are preferred. Unlike in India, where you will see that for a lot of the jobs you have to have a BTech degree, you have to have an engineering degree, right? That's not the case in Europe or rest of the world, especially in most developed country. When you say technical degree, that means degree in science or engineering. Doesn't but in India people normally think it's only engineering, and okay, science is perhaps less. I mean, it's a bit inferior, which is pretty stupid, in my view. But that's how people perceive in India. Very unfortunate, actually, because a lot of highly talented science students from physics and math, these areas, they do not get a chance to work in this fields, actually. Whereas in Europe, actually, in fact, if you have a pure science degree, in many places it is considered more prestigious compared to some of the other branches of engineering. And some branches of engineering are very prestigious and very well regarded, but not all branches of engineering. There are some engineering branches where you study very little mathematics, whereas in physics or mathematics you study tons of mathematics, right? So very difficult subjects and very well regarded. So if you are a pure science grad in India doing physics or maths, this is a career for you, and you will definitely do well, in my view, especially because of your theoretical background. So this is how the job description looks like, and yeah, you cannot apply for this role from India because they will not sponsor a visa. For contract jobs, you will never get sponsorship. There are few cases where people have managed to get sponsorship. Um, so you really need to have then the work permit in the UK, or you either you are a UK citizen, then you don't need work permit. But many of these banks in London, they're also sponsoring visas. So if you have these skills, you have built up the skills in India and have spent some time working on them, you will definitely be able to move to London, and there will be companies willing to sponsor you. I know many people, but I have actually gotten many jobs in London with sponsorship. Especially after Brexit, after 2020, this has become much better. It used to be very bad actually before that. But in the last 2 3 years, things have become much better for expats like us. So sponsorship has become much easier. I'm going to show you another job. So this is something I got. So this company, actually, this Excel list is started by someone I actually know. I knew him when I was in London, and that person was working with an Indian consulting firm. He was at a director level, actually. He was in the quant team, but was a director level. He was a consultant there. I think he moved. He started his own hiring company, and he is. I think one of his uh, team member, one of his colleagues has reached out to me for this position. It's a Python developer position. Again, it's a quant developer role, but it's in Python, right? As I said, the two most popular programming languages in quant development are Python and C++. Python is becoming more popular in different funds, actually private funds, whereas C++ still rules in big banks and insurance companies and even pension funds and in those places. So here you go. We're looking for talented and experienced Python developer with exposure to market risk domain for one of the global investment banking clients. So it's into market risk, the movement of market and its impact on the financial asset, and they're in search for a Python developer. Okay, so this looks like a pure quant development role. You do not have to develop models, but you have to implement models, right? Let's go through in detail. So okay, work within the agile team, writing requirements, specification, developing strategic risk management, trading tools, and maintaining existing code for risk technology team. So you'll be writing code for um, to maintain the existing code to build software for the models or the algos. Primary task would be to help the bank design and enhance the strategic risk infrastructure for LOB, CCAR, and BAR infrastructure redevelopment, right from design to development to testing. Again, as I said, this is a software development role in quantitative finance. You can actually find these roles even in India. In Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Citibank, there's like tons of companies in India. They're also hiring. Also, Big Four consulting firm, they're also hiring people in these profiles. And if you build your skills in these profiles, for a few years, you can then move to US or Europe or Canada, these places. But these are not niche skills, let me tell you, right? Very good in demand, but the problem is that, right, there is a knowledge gap actually. People do not know actually how to prepare themselves. When I entered, also I had no clue. I entered this field accidentally, and I think a lot of people, especially from the non-elite institutions in India, they have no clue about these jobs. Uh, I think bit unfortunate actually. Many are very talented, but not many are getting the opportunity. So you coordinate with the market risk, front office, and technology teams to understand the requirement. That means you talk to a lot of people, traders, front office people, business people, risk management team, modelers, people developing models or the quant finance experts. But you will be more of a software developer, right? Your biggest skill of most important skill would be programming. These are hands-on roles, so you have to be hands-on application developer in Python. But as I have already mentioned many times, that you need to have understanding of financial assets and models. For example, you should know pricing of derivative products, not at a level that a quant finance expert should know, but as a quant developer, you should still know some of the things about derivative pricing or interest rates modeling, or what is market risk, what is value at risk, or the stress testing, the CCAR stress testing in the US, right? Some knowledge is very important. I mean, you cannot go to an interview and say, no, you know what, I'm a C++ expert, I'm a Python expert, I know nothing about CCAR, I know nothing about value at risk, I know nothing about derivatives and future. Then you will not be hired, right? You should have some knowledge. I mean, out of 10 questions, you should be able to answer at least four of them. Okay. Excellent analytical skills goes without saying. And then there are some other skills like to be able to use Excel's. Excel is still quite popular in quant finance, let me tell you. So I think things are changing. People are now automating through Python and all, but Excel is still quite heavily used. Good communication skills because you'll be talking to a lot of people, so important to be communicative, bit sociable. Unlike in many other fields where if you're a software developer, you can work in silos, you can work from home forever. That's not the case, by the way. work from home thing is not that popular in banking. You'll have to then come to office at least 1 or 2 days a week. There is no concept called remote quant finance role or quant finance development role. Fully remote is not available. In fact, most places people will expect. In banking, it's certainly important. In some other fields, maybe it's less important. Right. So anyway, so these are the things I wanted to discuss with you. And yeah, if you have questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. And you know, I really want our Indians to know more about these roles actually, because unlike people in Europe where they have exposure to a lot of these things while even they're doing college, they're doing physics degree or engineering degrees or other technical degrees, doing PhD in research, they have knowledge about that. But we in India do not know about this, except maybe the ones in IITs or IIMs, where they have the history of these investment banks coming over there for hiring and all. So that's there. I was in a conference some 12 years back in Hyderabad, an RBI conference on quant finance, and I was very surprised that half of the audience, they were all from students from IITs, IIT Bombay and Kanpur and those places, very young guys, 16, 17, 18-year old, first, second year BTech in engineering programs, but they didn't know about it. That this is a career path, but not many other graduates had any clue. So none of them came to that place. So that's important. Therefore, that more and more people should know about it, and it's good that in India we have a good number of highly skilled, technically skilled people working in quant finance and quant development. And only then more and more work will come to India. Like in other field that has happened, right? In all other software development activities, right? Whether it's services or whether it's development, product development, India is now one of the preferred location, but not yet on quantitative finance. Let me tell you, it is growing, but it is still untapped. That means there is a huge room for growth, and that is only possible if in India we have more and more qualified people, and they have knowledge about these things, and they are prepared enough to take up these vacancies. Only then more and more roles from London and New York and Hong Kong and Singapore and Amsterdam and Tokyo will then move to India, to Bombay, to Bangalore and Hyderabad, in these places. Things have started. It has increased a lot, but there is a huge room for growth, and that will only be possible if more and more people are skilled in these fields. Any questions? Do not hesitate to